Hey guys, back again with another review, this time for the game Sonar. Plays 2 to 4 players for ages 8 plus, and a round should last you around 30 minutes. And in this game, you're either going to be a captain or a radio operator in a submarine, and you're going to be participating in submarine warfare. This is either a 2 versus 2 game or 1 versus 1. The game does say that you could play 2 versus 1, but no, I wouldn't suggest that. So in the game, you're going to get a really done rule book. Really, it's just one big page. You're going to get 2 transparent sheets for the radio operators, and a sheet for the captain, a map. These they come with 4 captain and 4 radio operator sheets, but they're double-sided, so you're playing with 8 maps in total potentially. You're going to get 4 dry erase markers and a board, but the board is just to separate you with your opponent. So there you go. You know what? Let me get you a full view of how that's going to look. So at the end of it all, should look something like this. All right. And then let me fix up my camera real quick. Okay. So you're going to decide between your teammate, who's going to be captain, who's going to be radio operator. Like I said, the radio operator is going to get a map, same map as you, but there's not going to be anything on this side. You could write notes if you want or something. A transparent screen and a marker. And the captain's just going to get a map with all the actions that you can do and a marker. Now let me go over the actions for a bit. On your turn, you can move north, north, east, south, west. And if you gain enough energy, you can do one of these actions, and it tells you right here how much energy you do. The way you gain energy is just to move, and if you spend 2 energy, you get Sonar, which lets you say activating Sonar, and your opponent has to let you know which letter column they are on the map. So say activating Sonar B, so they're somewhere on B, or the number, either or. So they could either tell me, oh, I'm on B, column B somewhere, or activating Sonar, oh, column 7, and then I would know which column. Silence lets me make a move without them knowing, and I'll explain that in a little bit later. And then torpedo, once I fill up this gauge, make at the very least 4 movements. I could say launching torpedo, and whichever grid I'm on, I could say launching torpedo at B3. And if I think my opponent's there, they would say either direct hit or miss, and then keep going. So you could play this turn by turn, but I think it's better if you play it in real time. So on your side of the board, what's going to be going on is each player is going to place an X somewhere on the map. You don't announce this to your opponent, but you just make an X. And then once both players are ready, you're going to shout, dive. And then the game starts. So then me and my opponent, both captains, are going to be announcing which way they're headed. So, I might be east, south, east. And with each movement, I'm going to be gaining energy. So at any point during my turn, once I have enough energy, I could say activating Sonar. And, I just erase 2 energies, and then, my Sonar would activate. Or silence. Now, let me get a little bit more depth with silence. If I say activating silence, I can make a move and I don't have to say out loud where I'm going. So activating silence. And then I would erase 3 real quick. And then continue to announce where I'm going. So east. Finally, or at the same time, my radio operator is going to be listening in on the other captain, what they're doing. So I might, once the game starts, I might guesstimate that they started there, and all I'm hearing is south, south. I'm like, okay. So the way movement works is that you cannot go through an island. If you notice on my map, I didn't go north because there was an island. You can't go through islands, and you can't go through a line that you've already been through. So think Tron. You can't do that. If you ever get stuck and your movement's really restricted or you're in a tight spot, you can surface. Now what surface does is you have to announce exactly where you are to your opponent. So in this case, I would be surfacing F4. So I would make a X right here, but then I get to erase all my lines that I made before. And then at that point, it's kind of bad because my opponent would know exactly where to go or where I'm at and make a mad dash to it. But, if you're in a tight spot, you might need to do that. So then, let's say it's later on in the game and my radio operator has zoned in on where my opponent is. So let's say I'm right here. Okay. So let's say it's later on in the game. Got all my energy tanks filled up. I'm in this square. And my radio operator nudges me and is like, "Hey, they're in this grid." I pinpointed, more like something like this. Yeah, they're right here in this grid. So that's why there's sections divided up in this map. For you to launch a torpedo, your opponent has to be in the same square that you are. So my radio operator would nudge me and be like, they're right there, launch it. And I'm like, okay, launching torpedo. And I would put G9. And, I would just signal it with like a little dot or circle. And then my opponent would let me know if it was a miss or a direct hit. If it's a direct hit on their map, let me just go around. On their map, they would have to put an X right there, signifying they took the hit. One more hit. If you take 2 hits, it's the end of the game, and the other player wins. So, and right here, I forgot to mention, you could just put the name of your submarine and, your name. But in a nutshell, that is Sonar. This is a great game. Me and my wife played the turn-based version because it was just us two. And even then, we had fun. Trying to guess where your opponent is. Again, I think it'd be a lot more chaotic and a lot more fun once it's real-time play, because you're just trying to react to your opponent, activating more actions. The silence option is pretty much useless in a 2-player game, which I did, and my wife was still able to figure out where I was. I would give this a Cyclic rating. Go ahead and buy it. It's for $35 at Target. You can only get this version at Target. Now, I say this version because there is a harder version called Captain Sonar. That one, I believe, is $40, and you can get it on Amazon, but they do sell it at Target as well. And with Captain Sonar, it's for 2 to 8 players, but it's a lot more involved. As a captain, you're just moving. That's all you're concentrating on. And then there's a person for the energy, and then there's a person for the actions, and then there's a person that's a radio operator. So if you think this game was too simplistic in design or how it worked, you could try and get that version. I wouldn't recommend it, only because I've seen it in play and it looks like it only works with 8 players. So if you know you have a dedicated game group, go ahead and get that version. But for for families, especially if since this one starts at ages 8+, this is a great buy. Remember, Sonar. You can get it at Target for $35. All right, thanks guys.